Yes. All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today, the OACAC Virtual College Exploration. We're here today with Brett Whitmore from Stetson University. So before we get started, just want to let you know that if you have questions, please use the Q&A button to type your questions to the presenter at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so we cannot see you, we cannot hear you. If you'd like to sign up for more sessions, please check out the schedule at www.oacac.org. And this recording will be available at www.oacac.org. So we will get started.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. I hope I sound all right. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. Everybody see my screen over here? Okay. Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us. As she had mentioned, my name is Brett Whitmore. I am an admissions recruiter from Stetson University. I'm also an alumni of Stetson, and I'm actually from Cleveland myself, so I can definitely understand what it's like to be looking out of state for college opportunities and that kind of thing. I'm actually from Strongsville, for those of you Cleveland locals who know the area a little bit better. But when I was in your shoes, I did the college admissions thing really hardcore, which is probably some foreshadowing for me ending up in this position, so to speak. I applied to a ton of schools. There's 24 schools, and I got accepted into 21 of them. And then as I narrowed my choices down, I was looking at Florida State because I had some excellent financial aid packaging there, and it's a great institution. Brown, another fantastic school, and then Stetson, which was my favorite one. And I was really trying to work it out. I was a full Pell eligible student myself, so a lot of like financial need and that kind of thing, but I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't, selling myself short and making sure I was going for an excellent education experience. So I wanted to go somewhere that still allowed me to have like a personal experience, still allowed me to be competitive academically, and to sort of have that freedom of movement to forge my own path, which is really how I ended up looking so much at Stetson. So as you can see here, we have all sorts of fabulous accolades. We're pretty well known for our programs in law, music, business. The sciences programs are fantastic. I studied history, public history at Stetson myself, which was actually an opportunity that I developed through the honors program. I actually work with all of our honors applicants as well, so if that's something you'd be interested in, please do reach out to me another time. That'll be a little more of an individual discussion than we have time for today, but I'd be happy to talk to you guys about that too. But we are known as one of the best universities in the South, and U.S. News and World Report. We have the #1 law school in the United States for trial advocacy, #3 in the nation for legal writing, which are distinctions that we've been holding for 17 of the last 22 years, so pretty much the entire time that most of you high school students have been alive. We are part of, we're a top value school. We're actually what we call a Title IV school. So basically what that means is we're a private nonprofit school, which means you can use types of aid programs that typically only work in public schools and types of financial aid programs that only work in private schools, which makes it really easy to garner financial aid as a student. So great opportunities there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But sort of jumping right into it, let's get going here. There we go. So we're located in DeLand, Florida, which is in the sort of like Orlando, Daytona area. We're about 20-25 minutes away from Orlando. So we have students who will go to like Disney World and Universal Studios and all the other really cool stuff they have in Orlando, like all the time. A lot of our students actually end up working in those places, especially some of those like marketing savvy type students. That type of organizational framework is really great. And we're also about 20 minutes away from Daytona Beach. A lot of our students actually go to New Smyrna Beach because it's got that like locals beach vibe instead of the whole like, big touristy Daytona thing. But I mean, they also have like the Daytona 500 and all the NASCAR races and that kind of stuff out there. So definitely a lot of entertainment as well. We actually have really fantastic weather here, like all the time. We're pretty famous for it. Not just Florida overall, but specifically DeLand, Florida. We have pretty much very still weather here, like nice, clean, relaxed air. It has something to do with centripetal vorticity and ocean current physics and that kind of thing, which I won't bother you with too much. But what that really boils down to is we actually ended up being the skydiving and hot air balloon capital of the entire world here. So we have students who will go skydiving. We have students who go and jump out of planes. We have students who come here specifically to do like Air Force type programs. We have an Air Force ROTC program as well as an Army ROTC program. We're quite well known for those opportunities as well. But jumping right into Stetson itself, you can see some of our basic demographic information on that little Florida map there at the tip of the O. That's where DeLand is. That's where our Stetson campus is. We do actually have 4 campuses. We have our undergraduate campus, which you high school guys would be looking at. But then we also have our Master's of Business Administration program and Celebration, sort of there in Central Florida. And then our law school split across the Tampa Gulfport regions, as you can see there. We have about 3,150 students here at Stetson. About 1,200 graduate and professional students here as well. And throughout this presentation, I'll be reporting on our information from last year because obviously we haven't totally hammered out everything for the current year. So you'll hear me saying a few numbers that are a little bit different than what are up here as I have up-to-date information. We actually are on campus despite COVID-19, but we are taking quite a bit of like social distancing precautions and that kind of thing. So while we do traditionally have about 2/3 of our students living on campus, we actually are doing single occupancy housing this semester to make sure that everybody can be healthy and safe. So we have about 1,200 students living on campus currently. We actually represent students from 47 different states, 64 different countries, and 4 territories. So even though you'll still be engaging with students on different ideas of like the subject material that you're mutually pursuing, you'll still be providing different levels of context for one another as well. So for example, studying like public housing initiatives and green energy institutionalization type reform programs is going to look really different perspective-wise from a student who maybe grows up in Florida, where there's a lot of sunshine and that kind of thing, and a student who grows up in Moscow, right? Like very, very, very different backgrounds kind of breeds different understanding. So it's a really healthy environment to sort of engage with your colleagues and that sort of thing. We have about 1/3 of our students who are from out of state. Of course, we do get a lot of students from here in Florida, but we do bring in students from all over the world. We're really excited about our diverse student population. Like Hillel is really big here. We have, I think, 16 different student organizations based on like background initiatives and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of diversity in our campus as well. But it really all sort of boils down to our mission statement here at Stetson, which is to provide excellent education in a creative community where learning and values meet, and to instill in our students the properties of intellectual development in mind to allow them to reach their full potential as informed citizens of their local communities and the world. What that really boils down to is we have 3 sort of core values here at Stetson. Intellectual development, most important thing. You gotta, get that knowledge. You gotta develop as an academic. You just need to grow as a scholar, right? To sort of help you not just to develop in your fields, but to develop yourself. Personal growth, because it's not just about the classroom work, it's about getting involved in things, it's about making connections, it's about learning more about yourself as an individual, as opposed to just learning content in your classes and that sort of thing. And then global citizenship to sort of give you that more contextualized view of who you are and of what you're going to be involved with and how you can contribute to your greater community, right? So sort of jumping right into the first one of those, that intellectual development, right? So we have a 13-to-1 student faculty ratio here at Stetson. So you can certainly anticipate a lot of hands-on academics, personal attention, that sort of thing. Average class size at Stetson is about 20 students. So some of those larger gen ed classes that you might expect, like Bio 101 or English 101 or what have you, that most students end up taking, anticipate to be a little bigger, but big at Stetson, you're talking like 30, 32 students, that sort of thing. For context, the largest class I was ever in had 24 students, and the smallest class I was ever in had 4 students. And that class was called Scandals and Sleaze, A History of Crime and Criminality in Latin America, and that was a lot of fun, but it was also a really difficult course. It's what we call a research intensive program at Stetson, which meant we needed to be putting out like published quality research if we wanted to get out of that class with an A. And one of the things that I was really interested in at the time was like pirates and piracy and naval history and that kind of thing. And so I spoke to Dr. Nicole Motier, who teaches the class, and said, well, Dr. Motier, surely you have to admit that there's a huge emphasis on the development of these nations with regards to naval history and pirates and piracy. And she's like, you know what, you're absolutely right. In fact, a lot of these capital cities were originally established as like naval bases and that kind of thing. Just wasn't one of the things that we set up in the class because we were talking more about like banking and cartel systems and prisons and that kind of thing. But we spoke to my other classmates and they thought it'd be a really good idea to institute this idea. So we ended up changing the course while we were in the semester, and I got to do some research on that, which is really cool on the one hand, because like it made me feel all warm and fuzzy and like my ideas matter and that kind of thing. But more importantly, it shows that our faculty really know what the heck they're talking about, right? So 95% of our faculty have terminal degrees here at Stetson, which means they have the highest possible certification in their fields. So Dr. King here, you guys see on the infographic, he is the chair of our biology program, but he also teaches neurology. He works with our students, and they're actually part of the LECOM program, which you guys might be interested in. It's a Lake Erie College of Medicine program. So you can actually work on like early med school acceptance and that kind of thing. And we're actually working with a new $18 million donation to continue expanding our health science and nursing programs and that kind of thing at Stetson too. So I would definitely encourage you more medically inclined students to explore us for that reason. But say you're interested in studying law, you might work with Dr. Sven Smith, who teaches sociology of criminal procedure as his PhD in that field, but he also has a Juris Doctorate and is a practicing attorney as well. So these are the kind of people who can help you understand, you know, like what is it like to work in the field and how do I, you know, become the best professional that I can be moving in that direction. But also these are the people who understand who you need to meet, who you need to interact with, and what you can do to further develop yourself and you know, be the best version of yourself that you can be, right? We're also a Phi Beta Kappa accredited institution that you might be familiar with. It's sort of similar to NHS, like in high school, but Phi Beta Kappa is a pretty exclusive program. You have to be a top 10% school in the United States or a top 20% school internationally to be considered a Phi Beta Kappa academic school. So we're really excited insofar as how strong the students that we continue to develop are, right? And then we have a lot of reach when it comes to these different sort of academic programs, right? So we're a university, which means we're comprised of different colleges and schools, of course. So the College of Arts and Sciences, that's probably going to encompass most of you guys. That's going to be everything from English to history, political science, biology, mathematics, cybersecurity, so on, so on, and so on. Then we have our School of Business Administration for those of you guys interested in studying, say, finance or marketing or sales or entrepreneurship, business systems analytics, that kind of thing. Our law school, of course, really strong program. I know I talked about that a little bit already, but we do have law school options. We send students in a lot of places to look at that. And then our classical music program as well. We teach music performance and music education here too. So all told, we have 106 different academic areas of study. But if that doesn't entirely encompass everything that you're looking for, you can actually develop your own academic programs through the honors program at Stetson, which is really neat. So as a student who is, you know, working their butt off in high school and, you know, is going to be a strong enough academic candidate to get accepted into a school like Stetson, you should expect some range of academic freedoms when it comes to starting your college process, which is really the first time you start being on your own, right? But the fact of the matter is most schools have so many different requirements and tools and pathways developed for you that while they are very excellent academic programs, it is pretty restrictive on your freedom of movement. So in Stetson's program specifically, we guarantee you a little bit more mobility, right? So we have a full host of sort of special programs as well. Excuse me. So we have, like, say, if you're interested in studying business at Stetson, we actually have something called the Roland George Investments Program. This is one of our better known programs. We actually manage a private investments portfolio of now $4 million. They've actually done incredibly well despite the stock market dips with COVID-19, but we are in a private investments firm, fully staffed by students who manage a portfolio of $4 million. I believe that's 2.2 million in stocks and 1.8 million in bonds. I'm not entirely sure if that's the correct split, but needless to say, a diversified portfolio of monies to buy, sell, and trade with on the stock market. So our students have real world experience. They get jobs on Wall Street. We have students working for Charles Schwab and Goldman Sachs and that kind of thing. They have the students coming out of that program have a 99% post-graduation success rate. So really, really hammering it hard when it comes to our students coming out and doing exceedingly well in the business world, right? We have a lot of different like scholarships and special programs, that kind of thing. So these all, I'll leave this up here for a second so you guys can take a screenshot or alt print screen or take a snapshot of these QR codes and what have you. But just give you a little quick rundown of them. With our Bonner program, we actually are a community service university. I'll talk about that a little more moving forward, but we actually have continued service projects on Stetson's campus that would allow students to get involved with scholarship programs anywhere from a few $1,000s all the way up to full tuition based on commitment to their communities and that kind of thing. The Environmental Fellow program is to sort of make you an environmental representative, not just of the university, but of your greater communities, and to see how the things that you're doing, not just as an undergraduate, but as a professional thereafter, will help sort of better our planet and with some green initiatives and that kind of thing. The honors program is a fantastic opportunity. If you join our honors program, obviously it's a pretty competitive one to get into, but joining our honors program waives all of your general education courses and gives you quite a bit of individualized experience, grant funding opportunities, research opportunities, makes it a lot easier to do different like elective type programs. Studying abroad is very flexible with that sort of thing. The J. Ollie Edmonds Distinguished Scholarship is our full ride program. Definitely one of our most competitive opportunities here to explore, but I would certainly encourage you guys to do that. Definitely looking for well-rounded students for that. Our Lawson Scholarship is for students who are interested more in like development programs, into legal initiatives, into municipality studies, into like government initiatives, humanities, that type of stuff. Philosophy is really good for that as well. And then our Sullivan Scholarship program is for students who are interested in writing, and there'll be a writing competition for that, and it will open doors to meet with people through various writing avenues, and like our English department and publishing bureaus and that type of thing too. But it's not just about like academics and classrooms all the time, right? Like you join a college university for a host of reasons, but no matter what you're doing, you're going to be hearing all the time, like college is the best 4 years of your life, right? And it's like really heavy to sort of get lined up to go into college and that kind of thing. And it might be true, like college is really fantastic. So it's important to make sure that you're going to school that really excites you, that you really want to be a part of, right? But when people are telling you about how great college is, they're never like, "Oh man, it was so great." Like my buddies and I, we would wake up, we would go to class, we would do our homework and talk to the professor, and then study, and then go home and go to bed and do it all over again, right? It's about the people that you meet. It's about the stuff that you're getting involved in, right? So there's so much to do as a part of our campus, right? That personal growth element is so important to us. So we have about 142 now student clubs and organizations. A couple of them are on hold, like some of the club sports that are a little more contact heavy or definitely not socially distant friendly, right? But 142 different student clubs and organizations on campus. So there is a ton of opportunities for sort of exploring those avenues. Like we have things that are a little more relaxed, like hammocking club, meditation club, nerd culture society, video game club, esports type stuff too. We have things that are a little more academic, like a philosophy club that argues about death and dying and the beyond, and what does that mean to us in different avenues, religiously, ephemerally, culturally, biologically, like how does that sort of pan out on us? We have things that are a little more, oh wait, there's Uncouth Hour where they do um, like written symposium type stuff where students kind of just do like slap poetry and slam poetry and that kind of stuff. So that's really neat too. We have one of the largest mock senates for a school our size in the United States, so really involved students for that too. We have things that are a little more extreme, like we have skydiving club, like I mentioned earlier. We have students who jump out of planes all the time. We're only about 8 minutes away from the major skydiving capital of the United States, and again, lots of opportunities to skydive in our neck of the woods. We're we have students who do hot air balloons. We have students who scuba dive and Hatters Down Under and scuba certified at Stetson. We have students who get their private pilot's licenses through our Air Force program for free, which is normally like an $8,000 opportunity. So that's really cool. And whatever we're doing, if one of the 142 clubs that we're offering doesn't encompass the stuff that you like to do, it's really easy to start your own kind of thing. So just like you can develop your major in the honors program, you can develop your own student clubs and organizations at Stetson. It's super easy. As long as you have 2 other students who think it's a good idea, then you can establish your own club on campus. And if you have a faculty member to sort of support you on the logistics side of things, then you'll be funded for whatever you need, right? So that's, a really neat thing. We have about 25-ish% of our students who are involved in Greek life. We have 7 different fraternities and 7 different sororities on campus. We're also part of the Eastern Florida Pan-Hellenic Council, which means that we have very good fraternities and sororities on campus. One of the ones I spent a lot of time with is actually Alpha Chi Omega, which was it's actually a sorority on campus. I was really good friends with their president at the time, Allison Ward, and their sort of philanthropy, their shtick, was like helping women in difficult situations and women empowerment and that kind of thing. So they did everything from like women who were in abusive relationships or who were suffering from drug abuse or who are having trouble taking care of their children and that kind of thing, and sort of emancipating them from those situations, all the way up to making sure that women had a greater say on Capitol Hill. Like we send students to DC all the time to do all sorts of various like lobbying type programs. Like the chair of our political science program, Dr. Wayne Bailey, has actually just stepped down from teaching, but he's still working with students on campus. He actually designed the current structure of the United States Senate. Barack Obama gave a speech about him in his last week in office and that kind of thing. Really, really fantastic professional to sort of give students a lot of clout, a lot of weight when it comes to speaking those greater political atmospheres and that kind of thing, right? We also have 17 Division I athletic teams. So if you guys are interested in like attending sports or playing or that sort of thing, and definitely a lot of opportunities there as well. So even though we're a smaller school of about 3,000 students, you'll still see us competing against like University of Florida. Our women's volleyball team beat USC this year. They're the #1 seed in the United States, so we're really excited about that. Our football team is really fantastic, so on, so on, so on, and so on. So there's a lot of stuff to explore there. Please do feel free to ask some questions about that too. As we move forward. But we have different ways for our students to get involved, on campus, around town, around Florida, and all over the world, right? Studying abroad is a huge deal for us here at Stetson. Global citizenship, that's that sort of third core value I spoke about. So we have students who are going to Korea. We have students who are like both North and South Korea. We have students in India. We have students Andrew Gansler studied in Siberia for I wanted to study like intensive agricultural habits of civilizations who are trying to essentially like survive in a frozen tundra, which is really neat. We have continued study abroad programs on every continent except for Antarctica. But if you wanted to go to Antarctica, I'm sure you could, because we have an organization on Stetson's campus called the World Office, which pretty much exists to facilitate international travel for students both into and out of Stetson. So we have students coming to do exchange programs with us, and we send students all over the world too. We have, you can design your own study abroad programs, and that can take place in a host of different ways, but we do like what we call mentored field experiences, which is when a Stetson professor will take a handful of students and go do a studying trip. I did one of those myself, actually, in Ireland, Wales, England, and Scotland. I was studying Iron Age hill forts, which I'm sure you guys would find very boring, but I liked very much and had a really great experience with that. We have students who do exchange programs. We have students who start their own type of thing. Like I know students who did archaeological research in Dubai and Menorca. I know people who studied the corruption of the national Mexican banking system in Mexico and in Argentina. really, really fantastic to see the type of stuff that our students and faculty come up with and continue to perform with there, right? Like Hannah Russo, uh, this past summer, or no, this past fall, excuse me, was studying at American University in Washington, D.C. So like, it's not just about, um, going abroad all the time. Like she's still bringing in like more political initiatives and that type of thing to continue lobbying for change, right? Um, so you create a really flexible experience at Stetson. It's something that we guarantee. So our Stetson Promise is basically a collection of all of our various ideas brought sort of to paper, right? So we guarantee that our students will graduate in 4 years or less. If for whatever reason that's not going to be possible, which is a rare enough thing, but of course can happen, then Stetson will pay for your additional schooling so that you don't have to cover any additional costs. And so that'll be all on the school. We guarantee internships and faculty-led research and public performance opportunities and chances to study abroad. We actually require our students to complete a master's level senior research program, which will look very different depending on the type of things that you're studying. So obviously a classical pianist is going to have a much different time than, say, somebody studying developments of business finance at Goldman Sachs and doing a senior internship with them, or a biology student working on like cancer research initiatives, like my student Kevin last year. So a lot of different room to breathe, so to speak, but we guarantee that our students will sort of have that academic weight behind them to help propel them into those greater academic spheres. So that's sort of the type of thing that contributes to our 93% post-graduation success rate. What that means is the students who are graduating from Stetson are going into the jobs that they wanted to have or into the graduate or doctoral programs they wanted to be part of 93% of the time. To give you some context on how awesome that is, the national average for students graduating from college is 54%. So we're absolutely thrilled insofar as how well our Stetson students are doing specifically, right? There is a whole host of different directions that you can go, of course. We have our own graduate programs here at Stetson. So if you wanted to continue studying like business or educational leadership or educational studies or counseling programs, or we have a dual MHA MBA program if you wanted to go into like hospital administration and that kind of thing. Like tons of flexibility within our programs, but of course, I'm sure you guys recognize most of these schools, like of course the Boston Conservatory for our musically inclined students. Johns Hopkins is great for medical students. Fordham is great if you're interested in studying like history and that kind of thing. All of the Ivy League schools, of course, are great programs. If you're interested in studying law or a whole host of things, really. And then we have students who are going directly to work for a lot of these companies. Like I wanted to highlight Brown & Brown Insurance there on the left. They actually donated that $18 million I was referencing earlier to continue developing our health science programs. I know people who work for, Wall Street. I know people who work for the private security sector. I know people who do intelligence work for the FBI and the NSA and the CIA as well. Really, really neat to see all the types of stuff that our students are going on to accomplish, right? And we have students like our athletes are going to the NFL and that kind of thing too, and NHL and so on and so on and so on. We have a whole bunch of scholarship opportunities. I know I talked about a little bit of those special programs ones earlier. We actually have a merit scholarship program when you are accepted to Stetson, which will be worth up to $35,000 a year. And they're actually tweaking that to raise that as well to make sure that we can continue appealing to our students, making it an affordable experience. We have special scholarships in like musical talent, athletic scholarships, of course, those ROTC programs. We actually are part of the pre-contract military programs here at Stetson, the donor-funded scholarship ideals, and the institutional-based aid as well. We also are on the pretty easy peasy application process. For those of you guys who aren't, we're on the Stetson application on our website. We're also on the Common App, which I'm sure you guys are mostly familiar with. If you're a transfer student, it's pretty easy to apply. You just need your all of your college transcripts. If you have fewer than 30 credits, you'll need your high school transcripts as well and a writing sample. For those of you guys who are coming fresh into college from high school, we'll need your official high school transcripts, a writing sample, a letter of recommendation, and your test scores if you want to. We're actually a test optional school at Stetson. Essentially, we typically find that students who score very well on the tests tend to be exceptional students, but there are students who score horrendously on the tests who are exceptional students as well. So it's not always the best indicator of a student's ability, right? So you don't actually have to send test scores in to have your application considered by Stetson. It won't hurt you at all. You can sort of see our average ranges here. So like a 386 on the GPA, 1140 to 1300 on the SAT, and a 24 to a 30 in the ACT. So sort of use that as your litmus test on whether or not you should send scores in and that kind of thing. We're actually a part of early action and early decision programs this year as well. So if you want to explore those opportunities, applying early action just is like making sure that you have like your decisions on your financial aid information available as soon as possible. And that deadline is November 1st, which is also the FAFSA priority deadline. Applying early decision is an interesting sort of can of worms, so to speak. So applying early decision means you'll have like premier financial aid, like preferential programs and that type of thing. You'll have the ability to choose your classes first. You'll have the ability to choose your housing first. You'll have the ability to like your parking will be covered. Your flexibility with faculty will be key. You'll have everything available as soon as possible. Really a ton of great opportunities there. But applying early decision is a binding agreement. So make sure you're certain about your decision before you do that, right? But of course, applying early action is not a problem at all. And we do have rolling admissions after those initial action deadlines as well. As I mentioned, make sure you get your FAFSA done by November 1st. But we also have our Admitted Students Day, Hatter Saturday on April 17th. So sort of pending COVID developments and that kind of thing, we're hopefully going to be doing this in person, assuming everybody's healthy and happy. It's sort of a huge celebration of the incoming class. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have been keeping up with Stetson news to pass, but you may not have heard of this before, and that's because Hatter Saturday is only for students who have been accepted to Stetson. So even if you are like, a huge fan of Stetson and you're a fantastic student, but you were a junior in years past, you would not have been invited. But basically, a huge celebration of the incoming class. Like students are committing with ringing our victory bells back. We're established in 1883, so old school, lots of traditions, right? But if you wanted to come and just celebrate and meet your peers and talk to your faculty and just kind of have just a really awesome field day type thing, it's a lot of fun, and I would definitely recommend that you come out by then. But otherwise, the National Decision Day to commit to a college or university, this is true for all schools, although most schools will have their own deadlines before this. The national federal deadline to commit to a college or university is May 1st. So make sure that you have all of your stuff figured out by then. So obviously a whole lot of time between then and now. So you should have ample time to make a full, well-informed decision about your opportunities, right? This is, obviously like a virtual visit. If you wanted to meet with me individually, we can talk on Zoom, or you can always call me. I'll put my phone number up and email address in just a second. We have like ambassador events, so you can speak to people who are current students and see how they feel about everything. Summer engagement opportunities to come and like get involved with various programs before you even start being a student. We have daily visits available, actually. So if you wanted to come to Stetson and like take a tour of the school, we're offering that currently as well. You just go to stetson.edu/visiting and you'll find us there. Pretty up to date on all of our various social media platforms. So if you wanted to see more about like housing or visiting the school or academic programs or what have you, you can always check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, our own website, YouTube, whatever, that kind of stuff. But that is pretty much all I got for you. So this is my information. Again, my name is Brett. So that is pretty much the end of the presentation. You can always reach out to me directly at 386-822-7174, or you can email us at admissions@stetson.edu. But at this point in time, I'm happy to take any questions that you guys might have moving forward. not sure I can actually see the questions though, so I think I have to stop sharing screens. Let me go ahead and do that. There we go. And otherwise, feel free to hop onto your next events and that kind of thing. But I'm happy to take any questions from you guys too. Hi there again.
Hi, Brett. Well, it doesn't look like there are any questions. So yes, we can finish this session. So thank you so much for sharing this great information today. I am going to get on to my screen and finish up with thank you for joining us today. There is a quick survey, so after you close the window, please take a moment to finish this 4-question survey. Again, if you'd like to sign up for more sessions, please check out the schedule at www.oacac.org, and recordings will also be available for this presentation at www.oacac.org. And thank you so much, Brett, for taking time today to meet with us.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you again for your help.
Yes.
And have an awesome day, and go Hatters.
Yes, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.